Hey everyone, so right now we are typing our niche paragraph, okay? So just remember that this is all one paragraph. I'm not going to type it as all one paragraph. And remember that sometimes I might give you two options for the same information, okay? So try to listen carefully. Your topic sentence, make sure you hit tab or indent. You want to type something like the job. Hold on, I want to make this bigger for you. Hold on. Okay. The job or niche. You're kind of like giving your reader context clues, like the social studies book always gives you context clues, and you want to put comma in between to separate it, to separate the definition. The job or niche of the, and type your animal's name, is to keep the population of something down and to be the food source for blank. So this is your introduction paragraph if your animal is in the middle of a food chain. Okay? And words that you might put in there. Let me show you. Here are some examples, okay? So here's an example. The kinkajou the kinkajou's job or niche is to keep the population of fruit down and to be the food source for tertiary consumers. Okay? Another animal that maybe is in the top of the food chain would be like the jaguar's job or niche is to be the food source for, is to keep the population of secondary consumers down. If your animal is a primary consumer, that's kind of, this is like a primary consumer here, or maybe your animal is a food source, it could be for secondary consumers. So you kind of have to look at what you did when you drew a food chain, or maybe draw a food web and kind of think about it. What's eating your animal and what is your animal eating? In the jaguar's case, it only has one job, to keep the population of secondary consumers down. Okay, so let your teacher know if you need help, because this is a little bit complicated. Press pause and write your paragraph, write your introduction sentence if you know it, okay? Now I'm going to start on the middle of your paragraph. So I'm kind of I'm explaining my topic sentence to the reader. So here I'm going to show you, so the manatee is found at the bottom of the food chain. So it is a primary consumer. Or you might say the jaguar is found at the top of the food chain. So it is a tertiary consumer. Or you might say the okapi is found at in the middle of the food chain. So it is you can't see that. So it is a secondary consumer. So go ahead and write that sentence, whatever works for your animal. These are your three choices. Okay, my next sentence, I want to tell my reader what the animal eats, okay? So you might say something like insects, fruit, and small lizards are the prey of this animal. You might say something like that. Or you might say, because see how like right here in this sentence you had the subject of your sentence was your animal. That's why here I'm making the subject of the sentence the animal that it eats or whatever it eats. You might even say instead of are the prey, you might call this like the food source. You could do that. You could do either one. Okay, so go ahead and write on yours what the animal eats. All right, the next sentence we want to do is we want to tell our reader what kind of consumer it is. So because the bird eats producers, it is known as an herbivore. Or you might say, because the kinkajou eats both producers and small animals, it is known as an omnivore. So it kind of depends. And then obviously, because the panther eats only animals, it is known as a carnivore. So go ahead and write that sentence that you're telling your reader what kind of consumer it is. Go ahead and write that sentence. Okay, our next sentence is where we tell our reader what the predators are of your animal. So you might say something like, the predators of the blank are, and then just say what the predators are. Or you could say, jaguars are the predators of the howler monkey. You might say something like that. So go ahead and write and tell your reader what eats your animal. Okay. And then our very last sentence is going to be about wrapping this paragraph up and moving on to the next paragraph, which is all about environmental threats. So you might say something like, even though this animal is completing its niche or job in the rainforest, there are still environmental threats causing the animal problems, or you might say causing the animal to be endangered or threatened. You can say that in a couple of different ways. It kind of depends on what your animal is. And notice I didn't really say what the threat was because that's what I'm leading my reader into the next paragraph. Okay, so go ahead and write your conclusion paragraph. Okay? All right, so that wraps up our niche paragraph. If you have questions, go and see your teacher. Okay?